Thanks again, everyone. Um, let's start. Thanks for joining the Competitive Advantage Talks presented by Kager, also known as Craft Analytics Group. My name is Roy. I'm an MBA student at MIT Sloan. It's my pleasure to introduce the presentation of Bridging Fan Gaps with Data and Technology to Drive Organizational Growth. Please join me in welcoming Brady Ulloa, Business Intelligence Manager of Real Salt Lake and Utah Royals.
Thank you. All right. Thank you for everyone for joining. Just wanted to see a show of hands first off. How many of you are students right now? And how many are not working in the sports industry but want to work in the sports industry? Anyone maybe? Okay, a few. And how many are currently working in the sports industry? Okay, a lot more. Awesome. So we have a great kind of mix of people here. I just want to start off by saying I apologize if I stutter or if I, maybe misspeak or speak too fast. My wife is expecting our first baby, and she's 37 weeks, so I flew in bright and early this morning, flying out right after this just so I can be there with her. And she's really the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I get to pursue the dream and passion of working in sports that I do have. Great. So for those that aren't aware, I work for Real Salt Lake and the Utah Royals. I manage all the data, fan experience, whatever you else kind of want to bucket in that. And we've kind of had an evolution in our organization ever since I've been here. I've been with the organization now 5 years, just starting my 6th season, so joined on right before COVID. And so there's been a lot of kind of change and evolution happen kind of in my time. First off, with anything, we need to humble ourselves and realize that maybe we don't have everything set up the right way, or we don't have everything figured out. And that's what I learned early on in my career, is that I didn't know everything, and I needed to find out kind of what the issues were, what the gaps were in our organization, and how we could kind of make things better. Kind of being the first data person in our organization, I kind of built the infrastructure from the ground up. And so we had to, I guess we have it here that we had a challenge first off that we didn't have all the answers that we wanted to. We weren't able to access all the information that we needed to. And so through kind of a quick win of a survey and other kind of pieces that we were able to piece together, we were able to decide and determine that, hey, there's a major gap in kind of our data landscape of kind of the tech stack and everything that we do have. And so after that, we had to make an investment, and whether it's in people or in tools or processes or efficiencies, our organization opted to kind of start with the tools and getting the right softwares in place. I continue to be kind of a one-man team in the organization, but as we'll get to later on in the slides, that's changing here shortly. And then the results. We've already seen great results, and I think through our partnership with Kager, which we'll talk to a little bit later, we've seen a great push in kind of our organization and how we're moving things, and really looking forward to 2025 and kind of the future. So this is just kind of a background between our two organizations. Real Salt Lake has been in the league 20 plus years now, been in the same market for that amount of time. We've had kind of 3 full seasons since our new ownership took over. I think many of you heard from David Blitzer yesterday, if you were in that. He owns and is majority owner for our club. And we've sold out 70% of our games historically, and even more, greater percentage than that since the ownership did take over. And we've seen year-over-year growth in revenue, mainly in tickets and sponsorship since that happened. And so we feel like we're in a good place with Real Salt Lake, and we understand our fan base. We've been in the market for a while. The challenge is kind of the Utah Royals, and so they added this piece kind of to our portfolio. And I don't know, by raise of hand, if anyone has added an additional team to your kind of existing landscape while you're in the job. Maybe not that many. And so it was kind of a challenge for us to really understand how we can, drive revenue for both organizations. Says there on the right that, lean team, that's me. I've kind of run things from the ground up, like I mentioned. And so we've relied really on a lot of manual processes haven't really leaned into a lot of the technology and softwares that are out there. And then, kind of just when the Royals came in, we copied and pasted almost the ideologies of Real Salt Lake to the Utah Royals, and we didn't see the same success. We're marketing kind of the same way and speaking to our fans the same way, because we figured, hey, like, it's soccer. It'll show the same success as Real Salt Lake, and we were maybe a little naive in that. But I think it was a great learning process that we understood, and we realized that, hey, like, we didn't see the success for the Utah Royals on the business side in year one as we maybe had wanted to. And what is the reason why? Like, we didn't understand our fan. And so we really needed to figure out how we can understand and learn from our fans and kind of differentiate between Real Salt Lake fans and Utah Royals fans. So I don't know, for those that have worked in the sports industry, maybe have heard of Scott Ahlstrom. He's a good friend of mine. We go back pretty far, and he's kind of taken me under his wing to kind of be a mentor to me. And he started this company, Guard IQ, and he came to me saying we need to figure out, it's a security and kind of staffing company, and he wanted to find out what fans value security processes kind of in the stadium, and how we can monetize that. And I kind of opened it up to him and said, like, hey, like, we should run this study for all the facets of the fan experience so that we can really hone in on what do our fans value, and how can we put a dollar amount for kind of each of these aspects. And so you'll see here for Real Salt Lake, our fans really only care about seeing the team win. And so the numbers here are kind of the different aspects. They add up to 100% kind of what the percentage importance they are for them. And so you'll see the disparity between RSL and Utah Royals, that Utah Royals fans maybe don't care as much about seeing a win. Obviously, they still do care, but maybe they're more concerned about ticket price, or concessions, or how clean the stadium is. And so through this study, it kind of helped us realize that we have two different fan bases. And we'll break it down just a little bit further even here, honing in on the ticket price aspect. We broke down all of those segments into even more granular aspects, that we realized that, and URFC is Utah Royals, RSL, Real Salt Lake. So Utah Royals non-season ticket members, ticket prices matter to them the most. And so going forward, as we'll discuss, we need to be more conscious about what are we pricing our tickets at for them. And then kind of working the way down there, Utah Royals single game buyers, RSL non-season ticket members, all the way down to kind of the premium members between RSL and Royals. And through this, we realized that even within the individual fan bases, we still had segments that we needed to be smarter in how we marketed towards these people. So now we get to the investment that takes place, and this will kind of take us back a little bit before kind of we did this study, but I think it's important to know that we had to have the right pieces in place before we were able to bring on Kager as kind of a partner, because without these pieces in place prior, we wouldn't have been able to succeed and see the results that we have already seen in the organization. And so I started kind of in a full-time BI role. I mentioned I was on the club kind of as an intern prior to COVID, but summer of 2021 is when I became a kind of full-time person in this BI, business analytics space. Fall 2021 is when we brought on Salesforce as kind of the first CRM in our organization. Then bringing on a survey provider, 6 months after that. Bringing on SeatGeek, which has been, monumental in kind of the data that they're able to share with us, and how we're able to move tickets and price tickets, and the easeability and flexibility that they have for us, and how they're continually changing and adapting to kind of our needs, which has been great. And then bringing on Domo as a visualization software. Prior to that, we didn't really have any visibility within our organization as to how different departments were doing. And so that was kind of a big final piece that we're still trying to get people on board, is like, hey, now anyone can go in and we can empower employees to go see how ticketing, marketing, sponsorship are all doing in the organization. Whereas prior to that, we kind of had to send out manual reports on a week-to-week basis, or even daily. But if we want to track how many tickets have been sold, like, we didn't have an easy way to do that. And so that was kind of the last piece before we were able to bring Kager on, which has been monumental, as I kind of mentioned, in kind of the bringing all of our data sources together, and how we can be smarter, and how we can kind of market to these different fan bases. So these are just kind of some points that we've kind of seen with the Kager platform, and kind of a culmination of all of our data sources together. You kind of see three pillars: data activation, data management, and data enablement. And through these pieces, it's kind of the full-fledged investment that our club has made into the kind of data aspect of it. And I'll give you some examples here of data activation. So we have kind of, Kager provides a bunch of dashboards to us that, you'll see it's maybe not show up as well, but kind of a zip code map that they're able to identify kind of where our fans are coming from. And obviously we can segment that based on what types of fans these are. We have a stadium map that we built in Domo that we can kind of show, and Kager built one as well. RSL and Utah Rose, we just launched our mobile app for the first time, which has been really exciting to kind of see the processes of that and getting the downloads. And we were told that we had a certain threshold to hit by end of season 1, and we actually hit it in week 1, which was great to see how many of our fans are really excited to, I guess, interact with our club through this way. And then you see data management. We're able to see in the Kager platform how kind of our fan bases are built up. So the kind of little pie chart there of showing the different segments of our fans and how and where we should spend our time and money. Our match feedback surveys, which has been great to be able to hone in and figure out kind of what the fan desires and what they want, and are we seeing repeat people in those surveys. And then the kind of data science part of it is the final piece of how are we actioning on all this data? Is it automated journeys that we're doing in email, which we never had done before prior to the Kager implementation? Are we marketing? We have a ticket app special if you download the app, and we kind of did that differently for Royals and RSL fans to kind of see where the downloads were taking place and how that was coming to fruition. And it's just some quick hit results that we've already seen through Kager and kind of their processes that they've helped us with. RSL, we renewed at 88% this year, despite taking an 18% increase in season tickets, which was the highest in the league, if I'm not mistaken, and one of only 2 teams, I believe, that took a double-digit increase in season tickets. So we were really helpful and grateful for the Kager team for leaning in on where we should increase prices and how we could be strategic about that this year. We're also, on the RSL side, nearing 14,000 season ticket members, which is kind of the first time since 2015, 2016, when our team was, in CONCACAF and performing and exceeding really well. This is the first time that we've kind of been at that place of, having a strong season ticket base, and we've already seen fruits of that with the revenue this year. On the Royal side, we've seen a 77% renewal rate, which historically for RSL, year 1 season ticket members, we only see about a 66% renewal rate. And so 77% renewal rate is incredible, considering these are all year 1 season ticket members. And then we've also seen a 3% increase in social media followers year over year for the Royals. And the Royals fans are engaging a lot more with our marketing emails and other marketing campaigns in comparison to RSL fans. So what does the future look like? There's a lot happening in the soccer landscape over the next few years, and this kind of outlines it. For the Royals, we kind of need to hit a timeout and refresh with that team and the on-field performance. And that was recognized, and if you've been following our team lately, we finished this season last year as one of the hottest teams. Unfortunately, we did not make the playoffs, and it was due to the kind of poor start that we did have. But we're really looking forward to this fresh start in 2025. We have some national team players now on our team that have grown, and Mina Tanaka won the MVP for the She Believes Cup. We have Ali Sentnor, the young player of the year for the USA, and Manny McGlynn, who's the goalkeeper. So really excited for this new core of players that we have. And I won't go into all the details here, but kind of just shows the process of, where we're looking at for the future for both RSL, Royals, and kind of what's happening in the market. We had the NHL come to Utah, the Utah Hockey Club, which the name is still being finalized as I understand it. I don't know if there's any hockey people in here. The previous presenter was hockey, and so I had to throw it out there. But the growth in women's sports has been huge for our organization and for the growth of the Royals. Salt Lake City is one of the highest or fastest growing markets in the country, and so we really need to capitalize on that. And we're really looking forward to Kager helping us, bring in these data sets and databases and people into our kind of warehouse that they have set up for us. We're really looking forward to all the models that the Kager team is going to give us and how we're going to be able to action on that this upcoming renewal cycle. Where last renewal cycle with the great renewal rate that we did have, we weren't able to action on who's likely to renew, who is projected to spend the most money with us, who isn't, and so really looking forward to that as well. And then just the growth of soccer. The World Cup for the men's side is coming here next year, and that's going to be a big buzz that we really need to capitalize on. And if we don't have the correct tools in place to do that, we won't be able to do that. One final note that I kind of mentioned is our home opener for RSL was, despite maybe not selling out the game, it was the highest ATP in organization history. And I think that just shows how much we are turning the needle and utilizing the insights that we've received from all of our data sources and softwares for the better and to drive the organization. I think that is it for now. If there's any questions, would love to answer any questions with the remaining time that we do have.
Thank you for a great presentation, first of all. And I was wondering, as a soccer team in the Utah, and then a lot of different franchises coming into the Utah, what would be the challenge that you're facing to acquire a fan outside of the soccer? And was there anything that really worked well so far? And then what's the future plan for the acquiring the fans?
Good question. One of the campaigns that we did do was we bought a list of new people that had moved into the kind of DMA of Salt Lake City, and we gave them a free kind of 2 tickets to join us for any match that they wanted to. And so that's kind of how we're looking at that. We're also looking at, we have great relationships with the Utah Jazz and the Utah Hockey Club, and how we can leverage kind of what they're doing and kind of maybe market in their games where they'll let us, and vice versa, to kind of build the sports scene in Utah in general. I don't know if it says there as well, but we're also having the Olympics in 2034, which will be huge, and everyone kind of in the Utah landscape is really excited for sports and what the future brings.
Hi. What are the response rates for your match day feedback surveys, and how are you ensuring fans aren't suffering from survey fatigue?
It's a great question. We're averaging anywhere from 10 to 15% on average for our match feedback surveys. For our end of season survey, it's a little bit higher than that actually, and so we are more selective with who we send those to, and that's anywhere from 20 to 30% response rate. Survey fatigue is a big thing, and it's something that I'm learning right now. Is we need to simplify a little bit about how we're gathering and asking the questions that we do have. Before we were asking a lot of questions because we didn't have the background insights on these people, like, hey, where do you live? What are these demographic questions? Now we do, and so we're not including that in our feedback surveys because we already have that information. And so I think it's understanding where the drop-off is, and we identified that in the last 2 years and have made changes to really significantly reduce the amount of questions that we're asking in our surveys. So now before it was anywhere from 20 to 30 questions you were seeing in a match feedback survey. Now it's down to 9 and 10.
Hi. So you obviously showcased that sort of tech investment that you guys needed, getting like Domo and SeatGeek. Obviously, like in sports, sometimes it can be hard to get that buy-in at an organizational level. So what's kind of been the strategy for getting that organizational buy-in to utilize that tech stack, and maybe what are the challenges that were associated with it?
Yeah, great question, and it's something that I ask people in the sports industry as well as, those that I've had calls with. I've probably asked that on every single call, and I think it starts with, obviously time and trust. I've been with the organization 5 years, and now look, we're just barely, feeling like we're ready to compete with the other teams. And so I think it's a lot of time and trust, honestly, to get the buy-in. Who's going to trust someone right out of college in an organization that's brand new? I had to really connect relationships with our heads of ticketing, sponsorship, and marketing, and even our president, who I now report to, that hey, like we need to do this and we need to go this route, and it's because of the time and investment that we've taken to curate those relationships on the back end.
Yeah, do you find that any of the softwares you have made an investment in has been duplicative in its work? And then 2, what work is your club doing to get new fans? So not necessarily fans that you don't have data in, but not getting the same 15,000 season ticket holders every game.
Yeah, great question. So for the first part, we're very selective on the softwares that we do bring. We identify what softwares after the end of each year, whether we're in contract or not, and kind of the pros and cons of why we're with that provider. And some of it has to do with, potential sponsorships that we do have in the area that, we want to support local Utah companies. And so if they're willing to spend money with us, we'll be willing to spend money with them. And so that may be where you see some duplicative in the softwares that we do have is, hey, we want to help out the local businesses in Utah. And so we want to be great partners with them. And so they in turn spend money with us. In terms of providing and finding new fans, I kind of mentioned we bought a list, and we've done that in the past of new move-ins. I think also just billboards, word of mouth. How can we, there's one freeway in Utah that everyone drives on, and it's insane. And how can we market and find people that are interested that way? And I think it's just word of mouth that how do we get out in the community? We have a great community relations team that is, in different schools, in doing different service projects on a weekly basis to get out there and show that we want to be a part of the community and drive, good togetherness and unity with all those in our community. Whether you're a soccer fan or not, we want to be good partners in the community.
Utah seems to punch above its weight based on population. If you had to rank cities based on their actual potential, like their actual dollar generating potential rather than just the population, what metrics would you use? And why is Utah so strong?
I think going back to us raising the season ticket prices and especially in the premium side of things, we're sold out for the first time for RSL Premium in the last 10 years. And I think that shows that there is money in our market, and we're able to drive that. And I think it's trial and error. We're a lean and nimble team here, and so that's kind of the best way that we're able to gauge, what's working and what isn't. Is, hey, we tried this out, it didn't work. We're trying this out now with the tools that we have, and it's working. And so we're really excited for what Utah has, and there's a lot of money there that we can raise the prices even more for premium, and we're not even close to having a dropout that we wouldn't be happy with.
You're managing the data analytics for two different teams. Do you feel that it's a 50-50 split in terms of how you're dedicating your energy? Is it one more than the other? And do you see that continuing going forward?
Good question. I think, the easy answer would be yes, it's a 50-50 split, but I think it also goes to how much money is each organization bringing in. And also, what are the strategies? For the Royals, we maybe needed to spend a little bit more time this past year and this year than what the revenue is saying we should spend time on, just because it is a startup. We need to spend more time on that product because we need to learn how we can do better with that. And so I think previously I would say, I'd spend 70% of my time with RSL and 30% with the Royals, but especially going forward, we need to be smarter with how we're marketing the Royals, and I'll probably be spending more time on that front in this upcoming year than I'd have in the past. And that's just because we realized where we made the mistake in the past, and we're gonna learn from it.
Time for one last question. Anyone?
Brady, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
You've got a lot going on personally, so thank you for making the flight. I'm just wondering for the students and folks that aren't in sports yet, what's the funnest part of your job, and what's the hardest part of your job?
I didn't mention it at the beginning, I don't think, but I'm actually from Utah. And so I grew up going to games for Real Salt Lake and the Utah Rose for their first time around. And so I think that's kind of the most satisfying part is not a lot of people can live that dream of making a difference in their hometown team. And so I'm very fortunate on that front to say that, hey, I've been a fan, I've been in those shoes, I've been in this market for basically my entire life. I know how people operate in this market. And so that's kind of really cool that I get to go to games and it's hey, I get to cheer for my team and don't have kind of that rivalry. Hardest part, I think it's no secret that sports is hard and you're going to be working long hours, and especially being a team of one, I have to be ready almost on the clock at all times for if a request does come in and it's kind of, even from the ownership level, we got to get it done. And that's hard, but also I find joy in that because it's I like the responsibility and the fact that people can trust me and that they'll come to me for those requests. And so two-part, it might be hard for most people, but I find the joy in that. Currently, obviously I don't have a kid yet, and that's soon to be on the way, and maybe that will change, that I need to say, hey, like I need to focus my time elsewhere, but that's kind of my answer to that.
Okay, let's have another round of applause for Bailey.